Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. And keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy.
All right, folks, here we are on Thursday, December 5th. We're going to take a look at Lucid today. So, Lucid did a thing that we've been waiting for it to do, which is break through this downtrend resistance. So immediately the questions become, is this going to have some sort of trend reversal, right? Can we get a V-shaped recovery here? Can we get some clawback? My short answer is, it's not looking like it. It's looking like a sad poke through a downtrend resistance, which it is just sort of waiting to either re-enter, right, and get back down under it, which would likely bring it below 2, or it's going to do that thing where it comes down and stays outside of the downtrend resistance, but still continues to follow it down, sort of treating it as what I guess semi-sarcastically call downtrend support. But that's what it's looking like at the moment. Now, it could continue to get space from the downtrend resistance. So here's the medium best case scenario. Not the best, but the medium best. It's right now, as you see, just wrestling with this 213 level that we've had on the chart for a while, unable in recent days at least to get back to this 220, which is where it was trying to break through, and it was trying to make an attempt toward that 228, 229 level. That obviously just didn't have the juice. And not only that, then it slipped below and started, instead of treating this 213 as support, which it was clearly doing through here, started treating it as resistance, which is what it's been doing now for the last 3 trading days. So obviously not the motion that you want to see if you're a Lucid bull. The medium best option that I would say that it has would be, if it does continue to wrestle with this 213, it could get significant enough distance from this downtrend resistance that it could still leave it behind. Here's the challenge that it's going to have. First of all, that's not the most convincing motion for a stock of the history, the price and the chart history of Lucid to have, that's going to reel in, that's likely to reel in, a slew of new investors. Or reinvestors or whatever. And additionally, sooner than later, it's going to hit this downtrend resistance as well, which is sort of put in place from that motion, this sort of cup and long handle that was put in prior to that big gap down that we see here on the day where it dropped almost 18%. So that prior standing downtrend resistance that it was already caught in, when it then gapped down to almost 18% that day, it still is going to be trapped under that. And even if it continues to motion sideways, or even if it continues to motion slightly upward, it's going to make contact with it. And so my question would be, what's it going to do when it hits that, right? Obviously, in the motion that it was getting prior to that big gap down, it had rejected it. If we say this is 1 and this whole slew of candles is 2 and these couple candles is 3, and then just prior it had a slew of candles coming in for its 4th rejection. So 4 sort of swing rejections, many more than 4 candle rejections on the daily chart. So that's creeping up sooner than later. Now, if it is able to make contact with that, again, whether it sidesteps it or it makes a run for it to the upside, if it can break through and do the same thing that that Lucid Bulls are hoping that it will do on this downtrend resistance, which is break through it and get some distance from it, right? Versus just sort of go sideways through it and then curl down back toward it again. That's the sad motion. The sad face motion. It's going to have the same struggle with this one, right? It's going to need to accomplish the same thing. So that's what I would be looking for if I would start to get anything that resembles confidence that a reversal could start to take shape. Now, there can be periods of compression and stabilization before a reversal, but when the chart looks like this, and you have had such a history of just incessant downturn after incessant downturn, it doesn't leave a lot of room for a compression or consolidation zone to turn into something wildly bullish. More often than not, we see it here. I mean, this, looking back at it, very obviously a bear flag, right? But compressed there and then plummeted down. It compressed through here and then it gapped down, right? And then it tried to recover, compressed through there, and then pretty steep and significant sell-off down through there. Now, you did have, say, a period here, brief, where it did go through some brief consolidation. It was able to move up, bull flag, move up, and then it had this giant plus 43% day. I don't recall what this day was at this point. This was January of 2023. But even then, very quickly, it came back down to where it had been previously, where it sort of started to move off of, and then it's just started to flip that zone from support, which was happening here, to resistance, which started happening here. So with the history of Lucid, I would be concerned that a consolidation or a compression zone could turn into a sustained bullish run that has any meaningful impact from a chart perspective. So those are my concerns on that front. Now, if we bring in the EMAs here, see how those are looking, all that's happening, even though it has broken that initial downtrend resistance, is it's just pulling resistance right off of the 21 EMA, that peach colored one in the middle. Which, again, if you're looking for a reversal of sorts, that's not the motion that you want to see. You don't want to see it just incessantly wicking off of it and then it being pushed down to re-wrestle with the 8 EMA, right? You want to see it make a motion toward it, and even if it fights with it a little bit, overtake it and start making motion toward the 34 EMA. So this is just in direct conflict to what you'd want to see. Now, this is just a chart perspective on things. Could catalysts come in, some insane meme or retail forces come in, some macro forces, some incredible news after catalyst, after fundamental item that provides a really strong bullish case for Lucid that turns things around? Sure, maybe. But this is the chart perspective that is what I'm going over, and it's my chart perspective, so take that for what you will. Now, if you look at the volume in here, you see if we zoom out, it's probably even more interesting. You see the volume shelf here, right? That it's like sort of engaging very strongly through just the brunt of that right now, right? Going straight smack dab into the eye of that hurricane. So, does it have an opportunity to maneuver off of that? It's the best opportunity that it has at the moment. I'll tell you that, because we slip down here and this is what it looks like, and we move up here and you're going to run into this sooner than later, and it's really thin just outside of this range, right? It's just, if we scroll out to this time period that we're in from like late, or I guess no, it's like midsummer till now, so the last like 5 or 6 months, this is really where the action is. And the volume gets much, much thinner elsewhere. Just trying to see. Okay. So a lot of sort of volume coming in. You can see it down here, right? Stepping up to buy up shares along this line, but it's going to have to continue to maintain itself, and that's where I really have a question of if folks that have total profited shares proportion of 16.33%, if they really have the want and the wherewithal to push this higher through that critical volume that's been coming in recently, right through smack dab through the middle of this like 210 level. So, that's the question that I have there. I'm trying to not say concern because I don't want to just like throw water on the hopes and dreams of the Lucid bulls all the time. But all right, so here coming in on the ATR levels, coming in along the baseline ATR, so nothing tremendously interesting happening here, right? It's just sort of moving relatively flat, getting out of the bearish phase on the oscillator, moving into compression down here. So, you know, some slight motion upward there. It's triggering here on the TTM squeeze indicator. I don't know if that's going to result in any move. It has, you know, in its compression, it has warded off or sort of exhausted through the recent bearish momentum that you can see here on the TTM squeeze oscillator. But again, like, what's the push? What's the vibrancy going to be that really makes an impact here, that has folks piling in, you know, reinvigorated to try to push Lucid to somewhere, right? To get it above this call trigger. It's what feels like a world away, sort of at 272, right? 272, we have all these resistance levels to get through, plus this downtrend resistance. Even if it attacks it really soon, it's going to hit that well in advance of 272. So even that call trigger being there and it having some great expansive levels, if it gets through that +1 ATRs, $5.02. But I mean, you know, that's a wild swing. So if it can get motion to 272, I'll happily come back and be like, wow, things are looking surprisingly bullish. And there might be really good reason for it. Like I said, maybe there's some really great news, some catalysts, whatever, that are going to come out. I don't know. But, you know, we had earnings back here, and, you know, you see the reaction from it. So those are my 2 cents at the moment. You know, like I said, it did break through this downtrend resistance, which is what I was talking about in the last video, but it still is then just trapped under this next one, coming sooner than later. And the most recent motion on the break from that downtrend resistance, not sort of screaming bullish, you know, scenario to me. But these things can change in the blink of an eye, and you can look back at them and say, oh, well, that's why that changed. That's interesting. So we'll see. All right, folks, so I hope that your trading week has been going well. And as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.